Majd egy nap megérted, a Székely név viselése felelősséggel jár. Ma is, holnap is kötelezni fog téged. Te viszont büszkén állsz elébe.
És ezt takarja a folyómenti túrákat is?
Igen, azokat is takarja. Gellért!
Fővezér úr!
Hol hagytuk a kivitelezőt?
Kapitánnyal valahova hátra mentek.
Mentek?
In one word, I would say this was stylish. It is stylish and it is sleek. Just very professionally done. And it's funny because I felt almost held hostage as the viewer with this high degree of tension throughout, but hostage in a way that I was happy to be a part of the action. Every shot seemed really well placed. The action sequences were tight. The location was perfect. Locations were perfect for those feelings of like rundown, slightly ominous places, the gang hideouts where you can imagine only shady stuff going down on. There seems nothing bright or pure about any of these spaces. I also thought all of the action sequences and the fight sequences were excellently choreographed. They felt dangerous and visceral and original at the same time. I felt very implicated in them. The Foley work was solid. I know that might be a small thing, but for action movies, good Foley work is what can make or break action sequences and scenes. I thought the punches, the injuries, they immediately registered as authentic, and I could feel some of those punches and some of those hits. So overall, I thought this was excellently done and really fit the genre as well.
You know, super well done. It looked super professional. The cinematography was great. The stunt work and the effects were awesome and super realistic. I thought the choreography with the fight scenes was super great, and you guys did a really great job of creating a balance of like more dialogue and action. I thought that was super well done. I also just really thought the story was exciting, and it was overall just a really great film to watch. Super enjoyable. So great job.
It was fantastic. Really, really great cinema. I loved all the action sequences, and there were so many good ones. Everything was well choreographed and wonderfully executed. Like nothing felt sloppy or clunky. It was just performed so well and then cut together really nicely too. The costumes were excellent. I love those masks and those rings in particular. And I really liked how everybody was dressed in black. Like it just made them stand out from the background in every scene and directed the focus right onto the action. There was that really great scene at night when they were in front of the cars and you have the headlights on and they're in front of it. And just the contrast between the light and the dark was amazing. I really appreciated that one. And I thought the set design was like fantastic overall. They made really good use of some of those locations, like that abandoned building. The action was just everywhere. So I love that it was on the stairs, room to room, and just like down the corridor too. Just fantastic. Like this was just a really great film. It was dangerous and exciting and put together really well too. I enjoyed it a lot.
I really enjoyed the fight sequences. The choreography was really great. And the music combined with the costumes and the choreography went really well together. Really cool coordination of all those elements.
This is a great action film. It has lots of nice special effects and outstanding sound effects. That's what got most of my attention. They are so perfectly synchronized and they sound so very real. So I love the sound effects. I also like their very commendable efforts to produce a background story with lots of violence and cool fighting sequences, and just very young people involved in general in this mafia organized crime scenario. I like the settings, like the abandoned building and the warehouse, and they also use some interesting camera angles, like from the dead man's perspective, from punching someone in the face, from it was just very original. I think their action is just it's very refreshing, even though it's quite violent. I also like the opening credits. I thought that they were very stylish, along with the music score, and I'm looking forward for part
I thought that
3.
the action sequences were so successful, in part because of how well tension was built throughout the other moments of the film. I think that visual elements which contributed to this were the play between light and shadow, the variety of shots that were used, for instance, the slower moving shots, and the contrast of those handheld shots with that, as well as the shots that were taken from behind a wall or another object, which allowed us to see some of the places where the action sequences would take place before the primary people that were part of that conflict were in it. I think that also in terms of sound, the way that volume was used, as well as the way that certain sounds were emphasized in particular, was used to build suspense, like the sharpening of the axe, for example, in part 1. I also think that motivations of the individuals on both sides of the conflict were very clearly laid out, and those helped to build tension as well, because the stakes for the vigilantes as well as the organized crime districts were so high. I think that another thing that stood out to me in the film was the use of the masks. I think that as an image, they really represented the play between good and evil and the blurring of that line that was taking place on both sides.
I really enjoyed this. I liked the fight scenes themselves. There was a lot of different types of fighting that was going on, and I really enjoyed how they were choreographed and how the skill sets were kind of showcased. And again, it wasn't just one type or one thing. It wasn't like just guns or knives or even hand-to-hand. Like, it was an interesting combination of everything that you don't often get. Sometimes you'll get like a little bit of variety, but I think a lot of the times in this day and age, things kind of default into you're either strictly gonna get like hand-to-hand, like boxing, street style fighting, or you're gonna get like weapons and like guns and whatever else, and you're not gonna get like close contact. So I thought that this was a really interesting mix of having lots included, but then the fight scenes themselves were really well choreographed. I thought they were really well done, and you could see that the kind of grace and beauty that was structured into them, along with like the brutality that they were trying to get across. So I thought all of that was really impressive. But then in general, I also really liked the kind of gritty style that they approached this with, of having it kind of be like a look inside of something, like inside of this kind of crime culture, and it wouldn't be fancy. It would be like warehouses and back rooms and abandoned, but like it would be that kind of like grime and grit, and I really liked that they translated that.
I really enjoyed the Siege. I think, you know, with an action movie, if it's not of good production value, it takes away from the entire piece, and that it just was not the case here. I think the sound effects, whoever was in charge of all of that, in charge of stunts and staging the fights, they did a fabulous job. Whoever was the Foley artist, whoever did the sound design for this, an amazing job. It synced up perfectly, and it just added so much. It just added so much to the value of the piece. Visually, this was very, very pleasing. I think it was incredibly smart to have, to have them dressed in black. It has them stand out from everyone else. It has them look really crisp against the background, really sleek. And it makes them menacing. It really just makes them more menacing, but in like a really suave way. Overall, it just looked, honestly, it almost gave me the same feel of like a Bond piece. That's how well produced and how just visually sound all of this was. So just a very, very good job.